Hey guys, and happy Homebrew Wednesday. Before I get started, I did record a previous Homebrew Wednesday, which I will involve or include some of the footage from that tape into this video as well. But before we get to that, let's get started. Okay, so the first thing I want to say is a huge shout out and thank you to Sticky Tentacles, Christian. When I used to do the In the Brew House videos where I would interview other brew tubers and we would talk about their lives and get to know them for who they were above and beyond what we saw in the videos, a lot of the time I would get questions about, when would I finally get interviewed by somebody and people would be able to see that. I'm not a very interesting guy, I don't think, but Sticky Tentacles went ahead and took the initiative and came up with a bunch of questions, and we conducted a sort of a brewer's talk is what he's calling his video series. So I believe he's going to do something very similar to In the Brew House, and he's calling it Brewer's Talk, which is really kind of cool. So he came over. We had a really good session, so that's over on his channel. So go ahead and check that out, would you? If you're interested, I'll go ahead and leave a link down here at the bottom of the screen, and also a link that you can click on down in the description of the video. So go ahead and check that out. This week I've also been quite busy. On the weekend I was brewing up an Imperial Stout, which actually turned out to be probably one of the worst brew days ever. Not in terms of like the end results, it's been worse, but during the process it got extremely sort of clumsy and just hard towards the end, at the end of the boil for the stout, just to get it into the fermenter. There were some issues. Then I decided to go ahead and use what was left from the grains that was still in the mash tun for a party guile, and that came out really well. The Imperial Stout itself came out really big, and first I got to give kudos and basically credit for the inspiration for the brew that I did was based on one that I heard about from a guy named Jim on Experimental Brewing. His name is Jim Leininger. I hope I didn't chop that up too bad. But I heard him on Experimental Brewing a few podcasts back, probably 4 or 5 weeks ago, and he was talking about this Imperial Stout that he had made, and he was tasting it together with some of the show's hosts, and it was a really nice chocolatey Imperial Stout, and I really have been craving to do something very similar. So it's based on his recipe. His beer is called the Full Monty. And because I had basically maxed out my mash tun on this one, I called it the Full Ton Stout. The Full Ton Stout. But I did have to change up some of the hops. So some of the things in the recipe was a little bit different. I'll go ahead and link to the description, in the description, for the recipe, for my recipe that I actually used and brewed, and also to the Full Monty, which is up on Brewer's Friend. So that's really cool. My original gravity on that one came out to be 1.120, way up there, which is exactly where I was aiming for, and that really ended up tasting really nice. I'm very sorry there's like a 6+ hour video that's out there. You'll see it. It's the previous one in my channel, and I left the whole brew day up there. I basically streamed live the whole thing, start to finish, after the cleaning and everything. And I want to say thanks to everybody that came on and said hi, and really appreciate you guys keeping me company, so thanks a lot for that. The party guile came out to be an OG of 1.047, and they're both fermenting really well. Interestingly, after I set those in the fermenter and I had them up on the keezer and I was looking at them, and I was starting off at 18 degrees Celsius, and I was a little bit worried about, I know that temperature was just going to spike, especially up in that Imperial Stout, because it already started fermenting before I was, when I was done with the party guile, it already started fermenting and the bubbler was going on. I put up a short video of that up on Instagram, so if you want to go ahead and take a look at that. I'll put a link in down here. Yeah, so I was really worried about that. So what I ended up doing was lugging out the 10 gallons of the Monterey Street Pale Ale, which I just added dry hops into, which was in the refrigerator fermentation chamber. Took that out of there and put that up here behind me, which you can see it's still dry hopping. And yep, I'll come back to that in a minute. And then I went ahead and put the Imperial Stout and the Party Guile into the Keezer, or into the fermentation chamber, which is really great. The interesting thing was it was holding at 18 degrees Celsius. I have the probe going into the thermocoupler probe inside the fermenter, keeping that Imperial Stout at 18 degrees. I don't want it to get hot because I don't want to create too many fusel alcohol notes on it. I want it to remain, you know, nice, sweet, and chocolatey. For the Party Guile, though, the fridge is working so hard to keep that stout at 18 degrees Celsius. I looked down at the Party Guile, and it was like 14 degrees. So let me go ahead and show you a quick clip of that. You can see it's currently holding up at 18 degrees. Sensor's going into the thermal well here. You can hear it. Definitely going. The bottom one is the that's the lighter ale, right? So that was like the small full ton, and you can see that the top one is fermenting so much to stay at 18 degrees. The fridge has to be on quite a bit, and the effect is that the one on the bottom, the furthest away from the cooling elements, is actually at 14 degrees Celsius. So the top one is remaining around 18 as set on the STC 1000, but the fridge is so cold that the small Fulton is actually 14 degrees. Wow, interesting. Alright, so I got that pretty much all dialed in. Now the Party Guile, it's continuing to ferment really well. It's not an issue. It's up to 16 degrees now, and I'm just going to go ahead and let it free rise after I start hearing the bubbling go down on the rhythm on the Imperial Stout. Once that starts to die down, then I know that temperatures, they're going to basically equalize and things should be just fine. Okay, so the Monterey Street Pale Ale is here. It's cold crashing. I've got some Galaxy and Mosaic hops in there, dry hopping. They've been in there about 3 days now, and interestingly enough, I can hear a little bit of after fermentation going on. So a little bit freshening of the hops, if you will. I'm going to go ahead and let that continue for about another day. But what's interestingly is today I acquired 2 new fridges, basically both glass fronts that are going to be coming here into the brewery. I plan on putting one right where the fermentation chamber is now. That's going to become one. That fridge is going to get out of here. And then the other one is going to go where the control panel is right now. I'm basically going to cut my table shorter so that I can fit in that fermentation chamber over there. And that will be fermentation chamber number 2. Both glass fronts, really excited about getting those in here. And hey, I want to give a shout out and a big thank you to Mats over at Strømmen Hjemmebrygg. He's the one that basically we're selling these online through his Facebook page. And I got a really good deal on these fridges, so thanks a lot, Mats. I really appreciate that. It doesn't stop there though. When I was there to pick up the fridge, they have sort of this warehouse, and in that warehouse they have a lot of older goods that they haven't been able to unload yet. And he gave me a significant amount of hops. Every single one of these boxes has at least 2 5-kilo bags of hops in here. I've got Spalt, Simcoe, Autumn, Cascade, 4 kilos of Magnum. And here's just one example of what a 5-kilo bag looks like. And this is 5 kilos of Autumn. On Friday, Friday night, I'm going to host a live video, a live stream cast, and in that live video stream, I'm going to go ahead and announce a competition. The competition is the rules and how you're going to get enlisted into the competition. It's going to be extremely easy. All you got to do is come by, watch that video, do what I ask you to do, and then you'll be enlisted in order to get access to, I'm going to give you your choice of 5 kilos of any one of these hops. Now, I will give you a little bit of a disclaimer is that these hops are 2015 hops, so they're 3 years old, but the expiration date on these are actually August of this year, August 31st, which is, well, it was a couple weeks ago. But I'll crack open one of these bags, I'll smell the hops, I'll tell you what I experienced, and if you're interested, then you can enter in the competition and enlist to win yourself 5 kilos of hops. Yeah, so with that said, go ahead and make sure you tune in on Friday night for that. Of course, it'll be recorded so you can watch it on Saturday or Thursday or wherever you are. So that's about it, guys. I did record some video that I did talk about before for Homebrew Wednesday. In that Homebrew Wednesday, what I'm going to show you right now is basically me tasting my latest version 2 of a Vienna lager, as well as a little bit of chit chat, and that's about it. So with that said, guys, go ahead and continue watching the videos, and I'll cheers you at the end. Take care. Hey guys, and happy Homebrew Wednesday. So today I'm doing up a tasting of my version 2 Vienna lager. So you went ahead and just saw me pour this one. It's a very nice looking beer. Been drinking on it for a few weeks and tasting very, very nice. And I have, of course, the control to compare it to. Here's the Hansa Vienna lager. Let's get this into the glass and do a quick side-by-side comparison. It's been a while since I've had this one, but I've always enjoyed it. Alright, so you can see that the colors are closer this time when compared to version 1. So here we go. Really nice. Couple beers. I actually think mine's a little clearer. I don't know. Anyways, that's not important. What's different in version 2? I definitely went with less melanoidin and also less of the Cara aroma. But I did stick to the same exact recipe. So it was really just 92% Vienna malt, 5% melanoidin malt, and 3% of the Cara aroma. Now if you compare that with last time, I had 83%, about 84% of the Vienna, 10.9% of the melanoidin, and 5.5% on the Cara aroma. So, and that was definitely a lot darker than this one is now, but you can see that my homebrew is still a little bit darker than the controls. But yeah, let's go ahead and get a quick taste comparison. Get the control, really nice, familiar, noble hop character to it. A little bit of floral, mostly like a meadow, sort of grassy, sazzy type hop. Yeah, let's go in for the taste. Okay, very nice. It's light. Got that nice lager flavor associated with it. It's kind of somewhere between cookie and biscuit. Definitely is about the way to put that malt flavor. Let's go in for mine. The aromas are different. Mine is a little bit more spicy, but definitely more of that sort of spicy, meadowy aroma. They are distinct. That one has a little bit more of the Hansa Vienna lager has a little bit more, I would say, almost adjunct-y type aroma to it as well. So let's dive in. Cheers. Nice. Definitely get a little bit of somewhere between bready and toast. I would call it more bready. But extremely enjoyable. I really enjoy what that Southern German White Labs 838 does for that beer. If you got good temperature control, then I would highly recommend giving this one a go. Really enjoy this beer a lot, actually. So I find myself enjoying lagers more and more these days. And also the beers that I'm making are a little bit more standard. I think I'm past the point of where every beer has to be an experiment. I'm so not there anymore. My beers are much more boring these days, more standard. Last weekend I did brew up a pale ale. I brewed up the Monterey Street Pale Ale, which is actually my favorite beer that I make here at home. Doesn't mean that's all I'm ever gonna brew, but let me go ahead and show you a quick look at that. So here it is, the gravity sample. I went ahead and took a quick test, obviously. It's coming out at about 10:11. Yeah, so for this one we started out at 10:54, and right now it's at 10:11, which is making it just over 5.7%, which is a pretty strong pale ale, but yeah, I really enjoy the flavor off this one. Now, I brewed this up with a long-term family friend of mine called Runard. He's the husband of one of my wife's best friends. He came over, and what's special about this one is that we used water from his cabin out in Sweden. So if anyone here is familiar with Strømmen, then this is where a majority of the water came from for that. Now I did have to use my home water for sparge. We did add in my usual additions of salts into this one as well, but this one is going to be, for him anyways, he's going to get half the batch. So we brewed up a 10-gallon batch, he'll get 5 gallons, and we'll put some in bottles for him, and then we'll keg up the rest for me. But here it is. It's still pretty cloudy, and I went ahead and just added in the dry hops before I took this sample, and yeah, let's go ahead and give it a whirl. The aroma is just phenomenal. It's got a little bit of dankness, but definitely getting some berry, citrus. I don't want to say tropical notes because it's not tropical, but it's basically all a little bit of Centennial, and then mostly Mosaic and Galaxy. But using a normal pale ale hopping regime, so it's, you know, it's not all in Whirlpool. So it's quite smelling just lovely. I'm gonna go ahead and take a sample. Enjoyable. Getting that dankiness to it. It's just on the threshold of not catty, but yeah, just underneath where it would become catty. There's a difference there where it gets like sort of resiny, almost marijuana-ish type dank before it becomes catty, and it's right in that area. So hopefully the dry hops don't put it over, but yeah, we'll see. Definitely keep you up to date on how that goes on. Actually, it's been 2 weeks since Christian, Sticky Tentacles, and I brewed up or bottled up our Imperial Brown Ale, the Sticky Brown. We bottled it up. It's been 2 weeks in the bottle. I haven't tasted it yet. I'm probably gonna wait one more week before I do. beyond that, guys, not a heck of a lot going on. Again, I just dry hopped that pale ale. Probably going to be brewing up a Imperial Stout here soon for the winter. And that's it. That's all that's going on in my neck of the woods. Hope the guys are having a hell of a week. Have a better weekend. Cheers.